right, we are live. Testing 1, 2, 3. Let's make sure I get everything set up. Howdy, howdy, everybody. Apologies for my voice. I am currently ill. Let's just finish getting everything set up. Sorry, I just got a text message. Just gotta double check. It's about a wedding. Okay. Yeah, let's bring up a guest. $3,400, you say that you have a question?
Yeah, I have one unrelated question.
Oh, sorry, one sec. I have to connect my headphones. You were saying?
Yeah, I just had an unrelated question. I'm not really a MAGA guy or anything like that. I was just curious as to the idea of how the universe isn't really created.
That's a topic for another live. You'll have to swing by on the Ask a Physicist days. Those are Tuesdays or Wednesdays. Or you can join my Discord server and ask there, and I'll probably answer. But thanks for being here, bud.
All right. Yeah, thanks.
All right, let's bring up, sorry, one sec. Let's bring up Benjamin. Ben, how's it going?
Ben, yeah.
Can you hear me all right? Ben?
Science, specifically.
Sorry, you cut out. Can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah. I was curious what part of MAGA is anti-science?
I would say that, like, as an ideology, it is an anti-science ideology, meaning that it is leading to, as an ideology, it is leading to the defunding of our scientific institutions and our scientific supremacy in the United States. And it's leading to and kind of endorses the distrust in scientists and embracing of conspiracy-minded thought, which is kind of typically anti-science. So, yeah, those.
I, of course, disagree with you, but I see your point.
Do you mind if I ask you just a few questions real quick?
No.
I just want to...
You haven't given me one thing specifically.
So I'm happy to get into that. I just want to actually, I'm compiling data of people I talk to just to get their views because it's interesting. So can I ask you a few quick questions? Okay. Yeah, so,
sure.
and these are simple yes, no, or unsure, or something like this. So would you call... No. Are you MAGA?
No, but I lean right.
Okay, so would you say that you're a Republican then?
No, but
okay.
I vote Republican.
Okay, and do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
It's possible. I see there is data to support that, but there's a lot of money, billions of dollars going that wants that data supported. So that makes me question how much of it's actual science and how much of it is funded by special interests.
So is that like unsure?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to children, you know, think like the like Tdap or think like MMR, do you think that these vaccines are typically safe and effective? Right. Well, just the ones that like we give to infants. Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human?
Yes.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so we can talk about this. So I'm just collecting data because I just want to know what people actually think. Yeah, so I think that there's kind of two main points here. The first is that we can look at polling data from people who voted for right-leaning candidates in, say, the last 2 elections or so, and we can examine what their beliefs are about scientists, about scientific institutions, about conspiracies, about the scientific mainstream views. And we can find that people who lean right, people who voted Republican, people who self-identified as Republican, are less likely to trust scientists and are more likely to go against the accepted scientific facts of the world that we live in. I think that that's one side of the coin. The second side of the coin is that the elected MAGA officials, Trump and his cabinet, the proposed policies that they're putting forward are destroying the scientific institutions that we have in this country that gave us American scientific supremacy. And I think that if you put those two things together, it's pretty easy to see that the movement itself is has an anti-scientific kind of part to it.
Yeah, I can see how you would think that. I think that most, like for me for instance, right? I believe in evolution, right? I believe in science, right? But I also see what evil men are doing in our country, right?
Care to elaborate?
I'm laughing that you're confused by that.
Well, do you mean like scientists, like evil scientists?
No, like very rich men.
Okay, what does that have to do with
Very
scientists?
rich men. Well, they are the ones. Well, if you're a scientist and you want to do a study, where do you get the money?
Typically from your university, depending on what your field is in.
Which gets their money from?
Mostly tuition.
Okay, government.
No, mostly tuition.
You think that most studies are funded by tuition?
Well, I mean, it depends on the science. So if you're doing medical research, for example, then a lot of your funding will come from CDC grants and NIH grants. If you're doing chemistry research, on the other hand, a lot of your funding will come directly from the universities that you work for, or from.
Without looking at the data, would you say that most scientific research is government funded in the United States?
Insofar as you associate universities with the government, then yeah, sure. I mean, generally, the private industry doesn't fund science unless they can profit from it.
Okay, well, public universities are government, right?
Okay, so then yeah, so I would say that the vast majority of science is publicly funded. Sure.
Right. So most of scientific studies are funded by the government, right?
I would say that they're publicly funded. I don't think that we have numbers onto the numbers that are like government funded as opposed to like university funded.
Okay, gotcha. So most of us on the right, okay, I'll say us on the right, but most of us on the right feel that the government right now, and we have a lot of reasons for this, is there's a deep state, there's someone behind the president, right? There's something, they're all working together in a certain way, right? Everyone was confused. Everyone on the right said, look, I'm looking at videos of Joe Biden and he is absolutely, like, I can see it. Like, you can't hide, I see one video, okay, maybe he's confused, but I saw multiple videos. We saw this man being led around by the arm in ice cream.
Sorry, what does this have to do with science?
Well, because this is what made us distrust some of the science, right?
What does Biden have to do with science?
Because it seems like the same people who were leading Biden around, right, when he was senile, and that the same people are funding that science, this new science.
The same people. So
I'm not
who?
Gonna get into it. Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Because as far as the hard sciences are concerned, talking physics, chemistry, biology, and the majority of the government funding that funds some of these projects, and again, it's not clear if they do fund the majority, but of those projects that do get funded by the government, the majority of it comes from the NSF, and from some of it gets funded from the DOE, the Department of Energy. Some of it gets like funding from like NASA or something like this. And those agencies, what do they have to do with like Biden's handlers? What does that have to do with that?
Well, they all answer to the president, all those agencies. So the NSF, the way that the NSF decides who gets a grant is that they have a board. They have a board of scientists, right? The scientists evaluate the proposals, and the scientists determine whether or not the scientific proposals are, worthwhile, and then they distribute funds, right? So it's pretty far removed from anything to do with the president, unless you're Trump, in which case you just put a really heavy hand on it and you just say, no, cut half of it. Oh, so in Trump's case, he is in charge. But when Biden okay.
So I mean,
Trump
you
can affect all those organizations,
right? So you can actually check this explicitly. You can check. You can see that, sorry, I'm coming over a cold. You can see that Trump has explicitly put a very heavy thumb on the scales, whereas Biden basically let it run itself. Generally, for the most part, please, Ben, for the most part, the NSF and NASA generally, the NSF and NASA and kind of less so the DOE, but the NSF and NASA have generally been pretty independent of the, the politics of the administration for the last, I don't know, like 30 years or so. It's very, very strange for an administration to say top down, yeah, so we're going to cut half your funding, and we're going to only fund projects that we're interested in funding politically. So like this is the whole business with any project that includes any amount of like diversity or whatever, those projects got cut. It's very unusual, pretty much unheard of in the NSF or NASA grants. Well, so I mean that might be the case, but then you're just agreeing that the American people, MAGA in particular, because MAGA is the controlling political party right now, are anti-science.
Why is that?
They're destroying our scientific institutions, right?
No, they're not.
What do you call it when you lose half your funding, and as a result, you have scientists fleeing the country to go find funding elsewhere?
If that funding was being used improperly, right, then like I was talking about before, we don't trust.
Where's the evidence that it was being used improperly?
Why does there have...
Finish that sentence.
That's what... I just listened to you filibuster for 5 minutes straight, okay? Let me try and explain to you what
Why didn't you finish that sentence?
Because, man, this is all... You're going to talk for 10 minutes straight, then you're going to try and lead me into whatever topic you want.
My guy, to be clear, I've only been live for 12 minutes. Like, you keep saying that I've talked for longer. Like, we're having a back and forth.
There's no back and forth.
So what would you call it when the administration that we have is slashing our scientific budgets, all of them, even in the DoD, the scientific budgets are getting cut. NASA, the science budget's getting cut. The NSF, National Science Foundation's budget is getting cut. What would you call that? If not anti-science?
What else is being cut besides science? What other
Not much. Not much, all things considered. I mean, the DoD's budget is going up, at least the proposed budget. They're still fighting over it, of course. But the
team that must put together, they're not cutting anything else besides science. That's all they cut.
I'm sure that they cut other things like Social Security as well, or Medicaid or whatever.
Like
I'm sure they cut plenty of things.
Deficit, and we have to cut government stuff.
Well, look, you'd think, like, if that were the case, then you'd think that they would be cutting the DoD budget, but they're not. They're increasing it.
Well, we have to because we're about to go to war with China.
We have to increase the DoD because we're about to go to war with China?
I mean, look at what's happening around the world.
I thought Trump was the anti-war president.
It doesn't matter who is president. When China attacks Taiwan, there will be a war.
When is China going to attack Taiwan?
In 2026 or 7.
Why do you think that?
Because they said they were going to years ago. Because
okay, and what is our budget? What is our military budget versus China's military budget?
We have to increase our budget because we're about to go to war.
So why would we cut scientific research as part of the DoD?
Because we're cutting government, but we have to increase defense because we're about to go to war. But we're cutting bad government spending, a lot of wasted money.
To be clear, historically,
a lot of that scientific money went to save the whales and finding,
Are you familiar with what science has done?
A lot of waste.
Where's the evidence that there's any waste? Where's the evidence of the waste? Where's the evidence of the waste?
There's tons of it. It's listed.
Okay.
They found it.
Please present it.
found it and listed it out for you.
Please present it. Yeah, so I've looked at the list.
There.
I've looked at the list. It's not waste. It's only waste if you only look at the titles.
Oh my gosh. So you don't think that was waste? You looked at that list,
Ben,
you don't think it was waste?
No, I don't think so. So Ben, let me ask you this:
we have to cut government.
We have to cut government. We just need
so Trump cut
to spend $100 billion more on our military.
That's crazy.
So to be clear, it's wait a minute. So
we're about to go to war with China.
Now I'm a little confused. Okay, so we have to cut budget, right? But we have to increase the DoD budget because we're about to go to war with China. So then why increase the ICE budget? That doesn't have anything to do with China.
Because the American people voted to get rid of all of these immigrants.
So it just doesn't sound like the American people are interested in cutting the budget.
We're being attacked on multiple fronts, on the border and with China.
It doesn't seem like
So
this is a budget
border
issue.
funding as the people wanted, and we'll increase our funding for the Department of Defense.
The people wanted to kill our scientific institutions.
All of the crap on this bull crap science.
There you go, anti-science, bull crap science.
A lot of it
is
because a lot of it is.
Give me an example. Give me an example.
I already told you. Doge already listed the whole thing.
Yeah, I've looked at the list. List, and none of it's bullshit.
It's like good science. So bull on the list.
Yeah, let me give you an example.
We can't have a conversation because you're not.
Let me give you an example. So one of the examples that was cited.
You can't even see.
Ben, one of the examples that was cited was a study that was the experiment that they were doing was essentially giving alcohol to rats. Now, you might say, oh, that's bullshit. Like, why would you fund a study that gives alcohol to rats? Have you considered the fact?
That.
Oh, okay, so then why was that study on the list of bullshit studies?
Oh my gosh. Along next to what? What else was with it too?
All of them, all of the bullshit studies, they're not bullshit. They're only bullshit if you only look at the title.
And you read through each one, and every single one.
I did look at them, yeah.
And saw that,
I did look at them, yeah.
Good studies.
Yeah.
Like sending money to Guatemala for trans studies, that's good, right?
Sending money to Guatemala? Sorry, so do you think that was funding a study in the U.S.?
I think it was money that the U.S. taxpayer spent to educate people in Guatemala on trans, and that's considered science.
Sorry, so what was that? What was the study? What institution was funding it?
Just look. Hold on.
Because
actually,
I have looked at it. This was USAID. This was USAID.
Just a minute. I'm gonna.
This was USAID.
I'm gonna read it off, and then hear you say that all of these are legitimate. Just a second.
This was USAID. This wasn't a scientific organization. This wasn't the NSF. This wasn't NASA. This was USAID, which is an aid organization, right? All right, we'll see if he comes back. Give him some time. Let's read some super chats. We have $5 from Larry Beck. Thank you so much, Larry. And we have $5 from Judas. Hi, Blitz. Stay hydrated and keep advocating for critical thinking. Look, we do our best. No, he's referring to the USAID awarding a $2 million grant to an LGBTQ rights organization in Guatemala called Asociación Lambda. The grant was issued to strengthen trans-led organizations to deliver gender-affirming care, advocate for improved quality and access to services, and provide economic empowerment opportunities. However, the grant's description says the money went to more than gender-affirming healthcare. Additionally, gender-affirming healthcare includes much more than surgeries. It also includes puberty-blocking medication, hormonal therapies, mental health care, and speech therapy. Only $350,000 of the allocated $2 million has been given to Asociación Lambda as of this writing.
So
yeah.
Wait.
Oh, you're back. Welcome. Did you find it? You there, Ben?
Agrees that it's a good idea to send millions of dollars to Guatemala.
Wait, so are we talking about the same thing, USAID?
The thing you just read.
Yeah, so that's not a scientific study.
Do you think America should spend
That's not a scientific study, it's irrelevant.
To educate people on trans issues?
That's not a scientific study, it's irrelevant. You were wrong.
Do you think the government should use
It's irrelevant. I'm not going to let you move the goalposts.
Oh, see? Oh, gotcha. You think the government
I don't think that you know what just happened.
Do you think the government should, do you think the taxpayers
I think
want
that's
any of our tax
irrelevant to
money
the contention
to
that you
go
were
to
originally making?
educating? You got to talk over me because you can't answer this one. Do you think the American taxpayer wants to send their money overseas to educate another country on trans issues? Yes or no?
Maybe, maybe not, but it's irrelevant for the claim that you made.
No, absolutely not.
Ben, your mic just got really quiet. I don't know what happened, but...
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, okay, but what does that have to do with science? I'm sorry?
That's considered scientific. That's considered science.
According to whom? This was from the USAID.
Educating people on
this wasn't
this
NSF. This wasn't the NSF. This wasn't NASA. This wasn't the CDC. This wasn't the NIH. This had nothing to do with science. This was from USAID. This wasn't a
So you
scientific
just
study.
said there's multiple countries that we are doing that in, and they're all listed on this DOGE list. Okay,
And it has nothing to do with scientific studies. You made the claim that you made the claim
That's
that
science.
I'm sorry, Ben. You made the claim that that we were funding scientific studies that were useless and wasteful, and then you brought up this thing that isn't a scientific study.
Okay, a scientific study. Okay.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, right? Your mic just got
But
quiet again,
come
by the
on,
way.
man. That's why America voted right. It's
Sorry,
'cause
can you
we're
repeat
tired
that?
of
You cut out.
That's why America voted right. It's because we're tired of that kind of crap.
Okay, what does that have to
Who
do with
voted for
science?
that? I'm saying, how did that get? Okay. What's up? Okay, I'll be right back.
Okay. By the way, if you're watching, make sure to like the live, share it out with as many people as you can, follow, subscribe, all of these lovely things. Great way to stay informed, stay up to date with when I'm posting, with videos that I make, lives that I do. He looking up some key facts. What did this person? He looking up some key facts for you right now while muted. Yeah, no, I assumed as much. We'll give him some time. I'm not allowing him to obfuscate the point. That's the point. That's why I'm not willing to engage with him on stuff that doesn't have anything to do with scientific investigation. Yeah, someone called me a meme yesterday in Ian's live, which was funny. It was very funny, by the way. We got a $10 super chat from Drew Keffer, supporting the habit. Also, Ben hasn't read a single study in his life. Look, reading studies is not something that people do often. You don't have to expect people to read studies, but you should trust the scientists that do. Ben, welcome back.
Yeah. So I trust like 99% of the science. It's just that 1%, right? And I think that's how most of us feel.
Which 1%?
The new, all of a sudden, being trans isn't a mental health condition. Now people can choose their gender. The gender is fluid. You know, I think some of the climate change, you know, they said there's a hole in the ozone layer was, when I was growing up, was the big deal. And
in the 80s and 90s, that was the thing, yeah.
Yeah, now the ozone's fine. You know, they said.
Wait,
see, hold on,
Ben, actually, we should talk about this.
They said,
Ben, we should talk about this. Do you know why?
I allow you to talk for a while.
Well, I know, but first you were rambling about trans things, then you were rambling about the hole in the ozone layer. Like,
no,
why
I'm
don't we
not
talk about
rambling.
it?
You asked me what 1%, and I answered you.
Okay, yeah. So do you want to talk about any of them?
Correctly. I'm telling you the new science that we disagree with, that you're saying we're anti-science, like evolution, like find cures for disease, like no one's anti that. We're just we think that money, a lot of that money is being used for, and I have the list now, $10 million for male gender surgery in Mozambique.
Sorry, was that from USAID?
It's from DOGE itself, Department of Government Efficiency.
I know. What organization was that grant being funded from?
I don't know. Let me read the next one. Does it really matter? Does it matter how $10 million
So
goes
look, what I'm not going to let you do is I'm not going to let you just list off and do a, what's it called? When you just list off 100 things and I have to respond to each of them, we're going to do them one at a time. Is that okay?
Okay.
So why don't we start with the first thing that you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to start with the gender stuff? Gish galloping. Thank you. That's the phrase. So
yeah.
So you say you don't agree with the science that says that, like, you know, you can be whatever gender or anything like that.
Yes.
So in your own words, you just don't agree with the science then, right?
That's what I'm saying is science is
Doesn't
right,
that,
obviously impacted by politics because that is not true.
oh, so so you're right, the scientists are wrong. Is that the claim?
I think there's a lot of scientists that agree with me.
What percentage do you think?
I think the scientific community has been bought by the government, and that's my whole point.
Right. So your view is that the scientific community is corrupt.
Yes.
That kind of sounds anti-science to me.
It's not.
Okay. Are you familiar with the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine?
Are we talking about the $10 million to Mozambique?
No, we're going to start with the
the
gender stuff, and then we can get to that in a minute. But we're going to start linearly.
No,
we're going to start from the
because I
top.
want to do this. I only have so much
We're going to
time.
start with this. We're going to start from the top. Well, if you didn't want to talk about it, why'd you bring it
we're
up?
going to go one at a time, and I said $10
Right.
million.
We're not starting from the end. We're starting from the beginning. The first thing that you brought up was you don't agree with the science that says you can be different genders, right?
You asked why. Yes, I don't agree with
Yes. So that was the first thing, and I'm addressing that.
Gender is
Right.
unchangeable.
So
You are born a gender. Okay, it's
I'm
obvious and it's unchangeable.
right. So the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine, this is a nonpartisan organization that was put in place by Abraham Lincoln, have two different definitions for sex and gender. The definition of gender includes things like gender expression, which is how a person signals their gender through their behavior and appearance.
And
It
gender
includes
identity.
things like cultural expectations about social status. It includes things like characteristics and behaviors that are associated with sex traits. Now, this is the National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine.
Right.
It sounds
That's
like
how bad our country is that we have
right.
that
So
in an
right. So you're just doing like
institution that says
anti-science stuff. You're just like
that
all of the
there's not-
scientists
there's
are
more than
wrong.
just male and female. That's how
Right.
far wrong our country has gone. Yes.
Right.
That's why
So
we voted
because
for
it disagrees with your preconceived notions, you're willing to throw the science under the bus.
No,
And just
because
hug on to your cognitive biases.
right. I'm just a dummy, and all these smart scientists are up there, and they know the truth. So I'm just
Well,
going to
I would
listen to
trust
everything they say
scientists
blindly, 'cause they
to
will never lie
understand
to
the
me.
truth of, say, the human anatomy or human psychology more than I would trust a rando on the street, and I imagine that you would do the same, right? Your microphone got quiet again.
I trust the dinosaurs. I trust that they have the aging, all of this. I trust 99% of science, okay?
Except the science that
There's
but
part of the
look, if
science
the
that is
science
funded
disagrees
by
with your
billions
politics-
of dollars from politicians.
if the science
That becomes
disagrees with
not
your
science,
politics,
then there's
then you disagree with
influence,
it.
right? Because only the people
sure.
who are studying for what the politicians want get the grants. If you have a study, I
Well,
want
that's
to do
not
a
how that
study that
works.
contradicts climate change, I don't get money. But if I have a study that wants to reinforce climate change, then I get money.
Ben,
Right?
I
That's
want you
how
to
it
hear
works.
yourself.
Absolutely.
I want you to hear yourself. How
I
is a
want you
study?
to hear me and wake
Ben,
up.
Ben, how is a study
Deep.
supposed to know what the outcome of their experiment will be when applying for a grant if they haven't done the study yet?
Some of it is obvious. Some of it is because they have to say, I want to prove that, this study done on the sea levels, which by the way, there was a recent study.
Wait, can you finish
done.
that thought?
Yeah, I can. Can you not interrupt me when I get two sentences? You get to talk for 5
No,
minutes.
I just want you to finish the sentence rather than cut it off midway when you realize that you're sounding
Sometimes
silly.
I won't, man. I have ADHD. I'm making sense. You're following what I'm saying. Stop interrupting me and being an a-hole.
All right, I'm sorry for interrupting you. Go ahead. Talk about
Thank
the
you.
study that you just heard about.
Right. There's a study that says the sea level rise is it's different in different areas. The sea level hasn't actually risen very much.
Oh, can you source the study for me? I'd love to see that.
If you look on Google News,
Yep.
study shows sea level,
Shows sea level what?
sea level is not rising.
All right, let's
It is,
Google.
but, it's not as much.
So I see something from the New York Post.
Check it out.
The New York Post is, a rag, but we can look to see if they actually reference the study. All right, so they're referencing a study from the Journal of Marine Science and Engineering. And okay, great. Yeah, so this came out a month ago or so.
you trust it blindly now.
Let's take a look. I mean, MDPI is a little bit sus, but I think it's probably okay.
Wait a second. This is science. How are you questioning?
Well, no,
This is science.
so
Oh, no,
MDPI
no.
Ben, please let me get my thought out, or I'm gonna have to mute you. Okay. So MDPI is it's a publisher, right? It's a publisher of journals, and there's a lot of skepticism for a lot of the journals they publish. Now, I don't know about this particular journal, the Journal of Marine Science.
Exactly what I'm trying to tell you.
Please, Ben, what? You got mad at me for interrupting you, right?
No, but you just made. I'm sorry,
Ben,
but you made a point.
all right, I have to mute you. I'm sorry. The point is that scientists generally know which journals are good and which journals are not. And MDPI as a publisher tends to have a lot of bad journals. Now, I don't know about the Journal of Marine Science and Engineering. It's probably fine. So I'm willing to at least engage with this and see what it has to say. And then and we can talk about it. Is that fair?
Yes, I would like to make my point after that.
Okay, let me just read the abstract really quick. So this is by, the paper is called A Global Perspective on Local Sea Level Changes. So they say, in 2021, the IPCC published new sea level projections. For the first time, the projections gave insight into expected relative sea level rise locally. A prudent designer of coastal infrastructure will want to know how the local projections compare to local observations. That comparison to date has not been made. We compared local projections and observations regarding the rate of rise in 2020. We used 2 datasets with local sea level information all over the globe. In both datasets, we found approximately 15% of the available sets suitable to establish the rate of rise in 2020. Geographic coverage of the suitable locations is poor, with the majority of suitable locations in the Northern Hemisphere. Latin America and Africa are severely underrepresented. Statistical tests were run on all selected datasets, taking acceleration of sea level rise as a hypothesis. In both datasets, approximately 95% of the suitable locations show no statistically significant acceleration of the rise of sea level rise. The investigation suggests that local non-climatic phenomena are a plausible cause of the accelerated sea level rise observed at the remaining 5% of the suitable locations. On average, the rate of rise projected by the IPCC is biased upward with approximately 2 millimeters per year in comparison with the observed rate. So, did you follow all of that?
Did you follow it? Yeah, I did.
I did, yeah. Yeah. So it looks like what they're saying is that the IPCC suggested, or their projections were about 2 millimeters per year more than what they observed. So the IPCC's projections were off by 2 millimeters, which is about a tenth of an inch.
Is a lot. That's
a
lot.
I mean, well, I mean,
you know it is.
It's not so much.
It's a lot. Yes, it is. What's the total?
The other claim that they were discussing in the abstract is they were talking about acceleration of sea level rise. They weren't talking about sea level rise as a whole. They're not saying that sea levels aren't rising. They're saying that, at least according to the analysis that they did, that the sea level rise is not accelerating. Do we agree on that?
That was the whole issue, was that it was accelerating, though. If it stays the same, it was fine.
Well, no. If the sea level rise is increasing, so if the sea level is rising, it could very well be the case that it's not accelerating, but the sea level is still going up, right?
Right, but we always knew that. That was not the issue. The issue was when it started.
That is the issue. No, that is the issue. It absolutely is.
No. They were talking about the sea
the
level.
issue is that higher sea levels are bad.
When no one even knew about sea level rise, and they started doing all this stuff, they told us, they explained it to us back in the day, okay? They'd said that the sea level is always rising, okay, every year.
No, nobody ever said that.
Yes,
what?
They did. Right,
no.
We didn't know that.
If the sea level was always rising every year, then the sea level would be like over Mount Everest.
The sea level was rising every year, always had been, okay?
Wait, hold on. Ben, you hear yourself. That doesn't make sense.
Accelerated. It's always been rising per year, but it's accelerated.
Listen to yourself.
Global warming.
Ben, listen to yourself.
Listen to me. Let me get the sentence out, man.
Ben, if it was always rising, then the oceans would cover all of the land.
Not if it's 2 millimeters. Oh my God.
2 millimeters per year over 1,000 years. That's a lot of millimeters.
Okay.
2 millimeters per year over 10,000 years? That's a lot of millimeters.
Oh my gosh, let me get my sentence out and then you can say whatever you want to say. They said the problem was the sea level rise was accelerating due to global warming and that it was going to continue to accelerate, right?
I don't think that was ever the claim. The claim was that the sea level is increasing and that's bad.
Okay.
Do you not agree with that? That the sea level increasing is not bad?
I think that it was natural for a while, and they were saying that as it was accelerating because of global warming, and now new studies have come out. Oh no, it was all.
I'm sorry. What do you think was causing the sea level rise before
here's what
the 1850s?
I had a point that I wanted to make.
If you think that that's a thing that happened, can you answer my question, please?
Oh
I mean, you've been rambling now for quite a while.
Then can I make my point?
Yeah, sure. So can you?
Okay.
So what do you think was causing the sea level rise prior to, say, the 1850s?
I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
Do you have any idea as to what causes sea level rise?
The ice caps melting.
Generally, not so much. So there are two factors. One is land-based glaciers running off into the ocean, not like the ice in the Arctic Ocean kind of melting. Like those, that doesn't change sea level. The other thing is the temperature of the ocean going up causes the water to expand, which takes up more space, and so the sea level rises. Now, if it were the case that the glaciers were not melting because the temperature was not increasing, and if it were the case that the temperature were not increasing, and so the ocean wasn't expanding in size, how would the sea levels rise if there wasn't warming?
I never said there wasn't warming.
There wasn't.
I never said the Earth wasn't warming. I agree with you.
No, there wasn't warming prior to, say, 1800.
I think there was, but we don't know because there was nothing.
We do know. We have data. We have data on this. Yeah.
Nah, they can guess. They're wrong all the time. That kind of.
No, we have pretty robust data on this.
Yeah, I know.
This is, by the way, you're just proving my point again. But anyway, you said that you wanted to finish your point.
Okay.
Sure, so go ahead.
The point that I wanted to make is that earlier when you were like, oh, New York Post, oh, they post for some sketchy journals. Okay. So that's my whole point on my side, right? Is like you're distrusting of some because politics might be involved, right?
No,
Correct?
this has nothing to do with politics.
Well, the New York Post.
And so MDPI is a publisher. Like I don't even know which way the publisher leans politically. I just know as a scientist who has had to work with their journals in the past, some of them are really sketchy. Like they don't have like robust peer review systems. You can basically pay to get your papers published.
Lean left or right?
Oh, the New York Post, I imagine that they lean right. But I mean, like the point is I don't really care that it came from the New York Post. That's why I actually just clicked on the link. Now, if they didn't have a link to the article, that would have been sketchy. But they did have a link to the article, so I'm fine with them posting it.
I hear you. I'm just saying that same distrust is what the people on the right have. Is we have a distrust of a lot of the new science, the trans, some of the climate change stuff has been bull. A lot of the we were lied to about the vaccines, efficiency. We were made to shut down our whole country. Like it was a lot has been done to hurt our freedom in the name of science. And so I think
in the name of science? Yes, you mean in the name of like public health? Because like, look, so Ben, let's say for a moment that bear with me. Let's run a hypothetical. Let's say that it's early 2020, right? We don't know how bad COVID's going to be. There are some like scientific studies that are kind of like inconclusive, but maybe they lean to COVID being really bad. And you have politicians who are worried, and they're like, well, it could be really bad. We don't know, so we're going to make a policy decision and risk it. And let's say for a moment that they were wrong. Let's say that that later science came out and showed that the initial studies were like flawed, or that they were, bad approximations or whatever. All you're saying is that politicians made bad decisions based off of incomplete data. I don't really think that that has anything to do with whether or not you should trust science.
Here's what some of those bad decisions did. Some of those bad decisions.
Right, but look, you can criticize bad decisions all you want.
Boy,
that's fine.
Hold on, I'll let you talk.
Ben, but
now you're interrupting me 2 sentences again.
Ben, I'm interrupting you because you're about to go on a tangent about something unrelated to the topic. I can agree that bad decisions were made. That has nothing to do with whether or not the science was good.
Cool. Is it my turn?
Sure, as long as you stay on topic.
Yes, I'm staying on topic the whole time. We haven't veered once.
Go ahead.
Okay.
If you're talking, I can't hear you, by the way.
Oh, I keep putting my pinky on the bottom. That's what it is. Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
We don't trust the new science, just like you don't trust science that maybe comes from Christian conservatives because you think it's biased, right? So if you there was a Christian conservative study that said something about more, I don't know the TikTok word, right? Baby, unalive. then you may not trust it because it's from a conservative right group. Well, we're seeing the entire government leaning left, and we have an issue with that. We think it's impacted the so-called science, and we lost a lot of freedom in the name of science during COVID, and we remember that.
So
I'm done.
Look, so generally my view as to, so I think that there's kind of like a few different ways that you should approach the way that you engage with science. So if you're a scientist, I'm a scientist, and you see a study that is in your field, then I think that it's totally fine to criticize, to engage with that study, to analyze it, because it's in your field. You know what it's about. You know the drill, right? So you can totally do that, and if you want to be like, yeah, this study's shit, this study's good, this study, like, that's totally fine. It's your field. You know what you're talking about. On the other hand, if you asked me, I'm a physicist. That's my training. That's my day job. If you asked me to analyze, like, I don't know, like some biomedical study on, like, the efficaciousness of, like, some fungus on treating whatever, I wouldn't really know, like, what the standards are. I wouldn't really know, like, what most of the words that they use in the study mean. So instead, what I would do is I would make the best decision that I have available to me, and I would ask people who are experts in that field. I would look to the community consensus in that field as to how they view that data, how they view those conclusions. And I think that most of the time that will get you the most likely to be correct answer. Now, of course, the majority can be wrong, but it happens the least often. It happens less often than an individual being wrong. And so I think that, like, if, for example, there was some study that came out of, like, I don't know, the Heritage Foundation or something like this, and they say something that goes completely against the rest of the medical community, for example, like, let's say that they say, abortions lead to, lead to self-unaliving at a rate of 300%. Let's say they say something like crazy, right? Well, look, I'm not, like, equipped to analyze that data, so I would just go look at, like, the whole medical consensus, and then just see, do they believe that? If not, then I'm not going to believe it. If they do believe it, then I'll be like, okay, I guess that's most likely to be true, and so I will accept that and add it to, like, the way I think about the world. But you're not doing that. You're not taking this kind of, like, a humble epistemic approach.
No, I am in every single case except for trans and climate change, which I believe are political. Every other case, I defer to the science, just like you said.
And vaccines?
I said all the vaccines were safe. But
no,
we were lied to.
I mean, like, COVID stuff.
Well, they lied to us. I was watching. I took the first jab, and they lied to us about how efficient it was and what it would do. They lied to us, like, by a large number. It wasn't like a few points, right? It was like they said it was 90-some% effective. They lied to us.
So, I mean, like, we can get into the details. We can get into the details on that if you want.
But they gave us. That's scary.
We can get into the details on that if you want. But the point is it sounds like you're willing to just trust scientific consensus until it disagrees with your preconceived views, and then you just disregard the scientific consensus because it doesn't align with the views that you already held.
And it sounds like you are willing to blindly go with something, even though your logic tells you it's not true. You will blindly go with it just because someone in the scientific community printed it. And
not
that makes
someone,
you're going to blindly follow anyone that the government says. Anything the government says, you're going to blindly follow it.
These aren't government employees.
Because you're a sheep. And that's why the people on the right are standing up, because we're tired of all you sheep listening to what the government has to say.
Okay, so we're doing the anti-science spree again.
Your agenda.
Look, so the point is that if the scientific consensus goes against my view, I will change my view. Like, that's just the fact of the matter. It's happened before. I'm sure it'll happen again.
So, let me put it this way.
If your claim is
dogs are bad,
please, right? I let you go on your screed, and you got mad at me for interrupting you.
You got a lot of them, man. I gotta wait. Go ahead.
So, if a scientific consensus shifts and it no longer aligns with my view, I'll change my view. But it sounds like you have this view. The scientific consensus is, like, overwhelmingly going against you, and, like, it's going against you more and more as time goes on. And you're just like, nope, it's all the scientists that are wrong. I'm the one who's right.
Well, I've read what they're saying about the gender identity. I've read it all, and I can see after reading it, no, what they just wrote was BS. Like, that doesn't compute, right?
Can you give me an example of what you've read?
Yeah, so you're saying that there's this is what people always say, there's a difference in sex and gender. Okay, there's not. What you're talking about is gender identity, which is a new word made up. Okay,
It's not a word, it's a phrase, but I mean, so I already read to you, actually I didn't read this to you. Do you want me to read to you the definition of gender as per the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine?
no, I've already read it.
Okay.
I've done a
You
lot
have?
of research.
I thought you said that you hadn't
yeah.
heard of the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine before.
I didn't say that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to read it for the audience just so they can hear it. So, again, this is the National Academy. Gender is a multidimensional construct that links gender identity, which is a core element of a person's individual identity, gender expression, which is how a person signals their gender to others through their behavior and appearance, such as hairstyle and clothing, and cultural expectations about social status, characteristics, and behavior that are associated with sex traits. So that's how it defines gender. It defines gender as kind of a linking of three different things.
But about 20 years ago, it defined gender, and it said gender is male or female. Sometimes there are intersex. It's very, very, very rare, less than a point something %. But gender is male and female. Once someone is born a gender, they're unable to change their gender. It's always said that.
Yep, and science updates. And so it sounds like what happened is that there was a scientific mainstream view.
No, it's not male and female. It's an identity. It's a whole, it's in your brain. It's an identity. And no, man, I don't buy that at all.
It sounds like what happened is that there was a scientific consensus that agreed with your worldview, and then that scientific consensus changed, and you didn't shift your worldview to account for it.
Because I could see that the change was wrong. Right, I'm a smart individual. I can read the same things they're reading. I can read those studies. I can read what they're saying. I can understand how they're explaining it, right? And it doesn't compute. It doesn't.
So what's more likely, that people who spent their entire lives studying a field are just completely irrational people, or that you, somebody who hasn't spent their entire life studying this field, is mistaken about something that they're not an expert in?
What you're saying right now is you're saying that they win by their credentials. I'm not sure exactly what the words for it are, right? But you're saying because they have more credentials in this field that they must be right on everything, and I can't be.
What I'm asking is probability, right? Like, just what's more likely?
You keep condescendingly asking me, like, if these scientists who they've studied their whole life, you think you know more? That's so condescending, man.
It's a probability game, my guy. So, look, I mean, I might read, like, something in biology, I don't know, and I'm like, something about this seems so wrong. But the odds that I, somebody who has no training in biology, spotted something that the authors didn't spot, that the peer reviewers didn't spot, that the journal editors didn't spot, that the rest of their colleagues didn't spot, the odds of that being the case when I'm not trained in biology and they are, is so small that it just seems more likely that I'm misunderstanding something.
Yeah, it does. If it was only me, yes, then I would be crazy. But the problem is...
The only people who it is it's people who haven't studied this.
Let me finish. You paused, you let me speak, and then you interrupted. The problem is, it's not just me. The problem is there's 200 million other Americans that agree with me, and that's why Trump is in office.
So, to be clear, you might say that it's 200 million other Americans, but if those 200 million other Americans are all people, and by the way, I don't think it's 200 million. Trump got, like, 70 million-ish votes, right? But let's say it's 200 million. Even if it were true that it was 200 million people who disagreed with it, if none of those 200 million people were, like, experts in neurophysiology, why would I care? Why would I care what they think?
Everyone, first of all, the chat's all saying 200 million. 200 million is probably about correct. I think lately there's 340
million or so.
40 million people. Mm-hmm. So if over half of them are Trump, they didn't all vote. But over half of them are Trump. We can assume by that scientific study there, where everyone went.
But less than half of them voted for Trump. Like less than half of the votes were for Trump, right?
Oh my gosh,
that's just true. It was like 49.5%.
So 200 million is not far off for how many people are Trumpers, right? It's not far off. 170 maybe.
I mean, it's pretty. Okay, it's pretty far, but sure.
You think you're smart? Shut up. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is that it seems like it's irrelevant whether or not, like, I don't care how many lay people have an opinion about something. If they're not experts about it, why should I care about what their view is? They're more likely to be wrong.
It's just that thing. Is we see that one bias in that one field, and we see that it's not. We see it's being pushed through the media. It's being pushed other places. There's money going to it. There's money. Bud Light learned a big lesson.
How much money do you think is going to it? I'm just curious.
A lot. And we're going to get into BlackRock and Larry Fink. But
I'm just like, I actually have absolutely no idea like what the total amount of money that's the U.S. is spending on like any sort of like transgender research.
In order to constantly every day see trans LGBTQ everywhere you go, that takes a lot of money.
I mean, like, well, hold on. So there's two separate things. There's marketing, right? And for at least for liberals, generally, liberals in big cities that have a lot of money, like New York and Los Angeles, LGBTQ friendly stuff is really good for business. So marketing is a separate thing from like funding scientific research, right?
You think it's good for Bud Light?
I don't know what happened to their stock.
It tanked. It went from being the #1 beer in America to
okay. I mean, like then they made a bad marketing decision. All I'm saying is that there are some markets. There are some markets like if your primary audience is in Los Angeles or in New York, pro LGBTQ marketing stuff will be successful, right?
It's everywhere. I live in North Carolina, and it's everywhere.
No, but my point is that there's a difference between marketing, money spent on marketing, which is a business decision. They'll make some mistakes here and there, and how much money is going towards scientific funding. And it's actually not even clear how much money. Like, I can't even find how much money is being spent on this.
Your chat is so misinformed. I'm looking at some of the stuff they're saying. They're crazy. Sorry, go ahead.
So it's really hard to find how much money is actually being spent on this. But my guess is it'd be less than $1 billion, right? That's probably reasonable.
No.
I mean on like scientific studies, not on like marketing and stuff.
No, way more on scientific studies.
You think it's more than $1 billion?
We're sending 10 million to Mozambique. Yes.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with scientific studies, right?
It has to do with the
that was USAID again.
This push of trans agenda push.
But again, has nothing to do with scientific studies.
You're trying to bring that studies. Oh, but it wasn't a study. It wasn't a study.
Yeah, it's
we're
not
educating
science.
them. We're sending scientists to educate them.
The topic is science, right? The topic is science,
man.
right? We're talking about science.
You're trying to say study. Yes, we're talking about science. And then you said
at least according to the New York Times, the New York Times, there was about $800 million in research focused on LGBTQ health. So that's less than $1 billion. Which, it's a fair amount of money. But that's like maybe like $2.50 from each American, which all things considered is not so much.
Obviously, I can't go research right now and find all the areas that LGBTQ money has been spent. And it's being spent through BlackRock, too, with all these corporations. So it's not
this just sounds like we're going down a conspiracy theory.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's there in black and white.
Okay, so where can you find the data on how much funding went to LGBTQ studies?
That's what I'm saying. Well, that would take, I can't go do it. I'm just saying, if you look at, logic can tell you, if everywhere you look, right, during the day, you're going to see LGBTQ trans issues being pushed. Hold on. I'm almost done.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. As long as you.
Go ahead.
So if you see it everywhere in every movie, every show, every ad, every on TikTok, on social media, and every brand's advertising, it's all, where is all that money coming from?
So Ben, that was a question, so I assume you're done. So two things. One, again, we're talking about marketing, not scientific funding. But second, I live in Arizona, right? You said you live in North Carolina?
Yeah.
So like, I don't know about you. The most recent movie I saw was Superman. I don't think that there was like any LGBTQ anything in Superman. Right? I don't see any billboards.
Superman,
I don't see any billboards about
what did
LGBTQ.
They change? What was the right? But in that Superman,
I wasn't done. I was pausing for effect. I wasn't pausing to be done. I don't see any billboards about LGBTQ. I don't see any commercials about it when I'm watching TV. I don't hear any commercials on the radio about it. I think that you might just be in a bubble such that all you see on social media, like TikTok scrolling, is somebody being mad or somebody making fun of or somebody pointing out how silly LGBTQ things are. Like,
I'm in a bubble, the guy that spends all day on TikTok.
I think you are, yeah.
Listening to people who agree with him. I'm in the bubble.
I think you are in a bubble. I mean, like, look, I live in a purple state, right? Like, I don't see really any of this
All
stuff. It just sounds like
liberals are
it just sounds like you consume a lot of LGBTQ content, and so that's what gets fed to you.
No, I see it. I see the bias. It's just like that Superman. You're like, Superman didn't have anything, but they changed a key saying in Superman.
What they
to
change?
be more liberal. Let me look it up.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so instead of saying truth, justice, and the American way, justice and a better tomorrow.
Is that liberal? Truth, justice, and a better tomorrow? A better tomorrow is liberal?
Liberals are teaching us to hate America, yes. They're socialists, essentially, now.
Wait, so a better tomorrow is liberal?
No, changing it from truth, justice, and the American way. That was a proud, Superman is a proud American icon, okay? Changing it from truth, justice, and taking out American way. Why? Why would you take that out?
So I can speculate, but I suspect because they want to market to the whole world rather than just the United States.
Because he's a snowflake like you, that's why.
What?
Go, man. It's a great talk, though. I'll talk to you again soon.
I don't know, Ben. I mean, that's a wild take. Like, I mean, like, if your goal is to market internationally, why would you want to have it be America-centric? Anyway, I have some super chats to read. From Aaron Leitz. Thank you so much, Aaron, with the $10. It's only science if it agrees with me, even though I haven't studied it. That's roughly how it usually goes. My audio's bad? Is it too quiet? Is it, like, what's bad about it? From Fear's interaction with the pretty wild that almost every scientist and student on the entire planet is paid off by the government. Is that why my taxes are so high? True. It's tinny. Oh, no. I think that's just how I sound right now. Okay, let me turn it down a little bit. That's really... Wait a minute. I know what might be causing it. How about... Is this better? Is this better at all? Are we better or worse? Are we better? Okay. And people on YouTube, are we better? Let me just double check. Drop my gain a little. Okay. Hopefully we're better now. Too low? Something's up with that cable. Yeah, I don't know why. Don't ask me why. 1 sec. Okay, so better but too low now. Okay, well I can turn it up a little bit on TikTok's end. How about, or wait a minute, what if I do that? Okay, how's that? And, okay, good? Okay, good. Just a few more super chats to read. Noise now. Okay. Aaron Leitz with the $10 says, I started with my conclusion, what I want to believe, and now I'm looking for evidence to confirm it. Anti-science. Yeah, that's roughly how it goes. And then from Austin with the $10, for agnostics that say God is unknowable, isn't that a claim that they must support? Is it just another roundabout way of ultimately claiming hard solipsism? I mean, I guess. I would never say that it's unknowable. I think agnostics would say, I don't know. Not that it's unknowable. Although maybe some would say it's unknowable. All right, let's bring on another guest. Oh, we have another super chat, sorry. Captain with 75 with the $5. Why can't these callers have the same distrust for Trump? It's a good question, right? All right, let's talk to that guy named Dude. That guy named Dude, how's it going?
Shoot, I'm sorry. I joined by accident.
You're fine. Talk to Indomitable Ganja.
Which one?
Indomitable, how's it going? Indomitable, can you hear me? Indomitable. All right. We got $5 from Tommy Cat. Founding fathers wore powdered wigs and tights in the 1700s. That's a good point. That's a good point. Let's talk to Benjamin. I don't think that Econo makes is actually opposition. Benjamin, welcome.
Hey, so like I completely agree with like a lot of the anti-MAGA sentiment in a lot of the ways that they uh basically conduct business. I do not identify really as a I it's hard. So I'm a Christian, but like not in the way that the Christian church
So,
teaches.
Benjamin, I gotta cut you off. First, there's some echo, which just makes it very hard for me to think. Second, would you call yourself MAGA or Republican or something like this?
Sir. No, sir.
All right, but then I gotta let you go because I am looking for opposition only. Fixed? Yeah, no. That's not something I can fix. It was on his end. Gavin, how's it going?
Hi, how's it going, man?
I'm doing all right. Are you MAGA?
No, but I want to say thank you for what you're doing, bro.
I appreciate that. Thanks for being here, Gavin.
Yep.
All right, let's talk to Aman. Aman. Oh. Aman, how's it going?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Are you MAGA?
I'm just gonna disconnect. Okay.
Hi. Sorry. No, I just wanted to say one thing. From the last person that you were talking to.
Sorry, no can do. Opposition only. Please read the background.
Hey, what's up, Dr. Blitz?
Hey, Dignity, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, man. It's going pretty good.
Glad to hear it. Are you MAGA?
Well, I want to start on off with I actually know people at MAGA that are for science.
but look, are you MAGA?
I'm not. I'm independent. Right. I'm an independent.
Okay, then I guess that's fine. One sec, let me just write your name down. I do have a few questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So you said that you're an independent. Would you say that humans are the main cause of climate change?
Humans definitely have a major role play in climate change. Yeah, I would say that they produce probably right around 80 to 86% of the rise in global.
Okay.
In global yeah.
Sure.
Climate.
Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to infants and young children are generally safe and effective?
Generally, yeah, they're generally safe. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that all of them are, but yeah, generally most of them. Yeah.
And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes, evolution theory is absolutely right.
Okay, great. So you said that you're independent. You say that you know some MAGA who are pro-science. So what's your contention here? Do you think that MAGA is pro-science, neutral, or anti-science, or something else?
So, I mean, I would say that a lot of the predominant masses of MAGA are uninformed and typically, not as educated. But there are quite a few educated people that are in there that do believe in science. They just might be like sometimes I feel like some of them are just turning a blind eye away from what is reality. With data. And repetition of these of experiments that are coming out with the exact same conclusion every single time. I think they kind of like turn a blind eye. That's something I do. I debate a lot of people across this platform, and so like ultimately, like I definitely do find myself coming across quite a bit of MAGA people that just like refuse to look into any information. So I understand your stance here, but I have come across some MAGA people that actually do have quite a bit of science background as well. Like I know some
that's not really relevant, right?
Yeah, I hear you.
Whether or not they have science background doesn't mean, like, for example, do you know who Sabine Hossenfelder is?
Not off the top of my head now.
Okay, so she's a physicist, a European physicist. Who has an enormous following on YouTube, like a few million subscribers or something like this. She has a PhD in physics, and she actually has a pretty impressive research background. And yet, if you go watch her YouTube videos, half of them are like just, hey, there's this new science news, it's cool. And then the other half is, science is a waste, like physics is a waste of money. We need to be spending that money better. And so even though she has a scientific background, she is absolutely anti-science.
Okay, I mean, interesting.
So
okay.
my point is that it doesn't, you don't, just because you have a science background doesn't mean that you're not anti-science.
Right.
But look, it doesn't seem like your opposition dignity, so I'm going to let you go.
Hey,
but thanks for being here.
Fine, man.
What's her name? Her name is Sabine Hossenfelder, S-A-B-I-N-E, and then Hossenfelder is, as the name sounds, with 2 S's. Bilford Jim Nuts, how's it going?
Hey, good. How are you? I just wanted to start real quick. I just wanted to make a quick clarification. It says to join if I disagree.
Before you start, I need to ask, are you MAGA?
Well, it says to join if I disagree.
Yeah,
I disagree.
I mean, yeah, so are you MAGA?
It doesn't say I have to be, though. That's the thing.
Right, but it's still a reasonable question to ask.
So no, I'm not, but I do disagree.
Okay. And I have 3 questions to ask you. Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
Of course.
Okay. Do you think that vaccines we administer to children are generally safe and effective?
Yes.
And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes, and those are not the only 3 things that involve science and politics.
I'm aware. I'm taking data for something that I'm interested in. Anyway, so you disagree. In what sense do you disagree? Do you think that MAGA is pro-science neutral or anti-science or something else?
None of the above.
Okay, what's the other option?
I think they are selective science. The science has to fit their narrative and their bias.
Okay,
so
I agree.
If the science,
that's anti-science in my view.
Okay, in your view, sure. I would say it's selective because they do use scientific arguments because if it, like, okay, let's say the science reaffirms the idea that climate change is real. Obviously, they're not going to back that science. But if the science reinforces their ideology and allows them to control bodily autonomy, they are going to back that science.
So that's still an anti-science view, though, right? Being anti-science means that not actually listening to where the science leads and just, you know, you can be like, for example, you can be like an anti-black racist, and then when a black guy comes around and says, yeah, all of this gang culture is really bad, you can then go endorse the black guy while still being an anti-black racist, or like against black people and racist. Like that's still anti-science. If you just use the science for things that confirm your beliefs, that's still anti-science. You don't get to pick and choose.
I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, how can it be anti-science and they still use the science? You understand?
Because
it's not just
being anti-science is not being anti-science is a view. Being anti-science is a way of thinking about the world. It's not just you reject all science.
So isn't that like, what about like social sciences and things like that? Like when they debate like they'll debate trans ideology and bathroom usages and things like that.
Okay, what about it?
I'm saying that they're not anti-science, that they pick and choose, they cherry pick. And
by cherry picking, that makes them anti-science.
Yeah, I think we're just going to go back and forth about this.
Okay.
So, all right.
Hold on. Let's bring up Econo. Oh, okay. Never mind. He didn't actually mean to be here. All right, let's bring up another guest. R, how's it going?
Good, thank you. I'm not anti-MAGA, but I disagree with the third question you asked about
Hold on.
What's it called? Evolution.
Are you MAGA?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Are you right-leaning at all?
A little. I'd say I'm like in the middle, but I think I disagree with the third question you asked about evolution.
Right. So I asked those questions just because I'm interested in getting some data.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Do you actually disagree with the topic?
No, I'm like not anti-MAGA.
Okay, I don't think you understand what the background's saying. You don't have to be anti-MAGA to be here, but okay. Scotty, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Are you MAGA?
I am not. I just wanted to hop in and say I appreciate you and I like what you do. That's all.
All right. Well, thanks for being here, bud.
I'm a fan. That's all. I just wanted to say hi.
Okay. Well, hello. All right, let's talk to Razor Defined. By the way, remember to like the live, share the live. We can get more people in here. The guest box is pretty limited. Razor, how's it going?
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Are you MAGA?
Let's see. I was watching. It's pretty complicated, I would think. No, I mean, between call me MAGA, what it does is put me in a box, and it says that
okay.
I'm ultimately right. No.
Well, look. So, did you vote for Trump?
I did not vote. I actually am not a Trump fan, but there are some policies that I do agree on. My wife is a liberal. I'm more conservative. It depends. I'd like to take both ideas from both sides.
Okay.
As far as being like about science, I believe that I don't think it's MAGA in general. It's all people are leaning right, don't believe in science. I think what people are doing is they're taking everybody as a collective instead of individually.
So can I ask you a few questions really quick just before we get started?
Yeah, of course.
Just simple questions, yes or no, or maybe I don't know, or whatever. Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
Yes and no.
Yes and no?
No, actually, no. You probably, I would probably say yes, considering everything that we build, technology-wise, and so on, is what creates a lot of the disturbance. Okay. But I just think, as far as natural habitats and everything, and evolution, the way the world goes, it's just that there's almost, you could say, chaos. I mean, that's what the world is based upon.
Okay, so do you think that?
You understand what I'm saying?
Do you think that the vaccines that we typically administer to children and infants are generally safe and effective?
So that's a good question, because me and my wife both took 3 vaccines, but then after a while we said, all right, this is getting a little out of hand.
I'm just talking about like MMR and Tdap and like, the ones that like newborn babies and stuff get. Do you think that those are generally safe and effective?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
I think the science proves that it's been effective as long as,
okay. And do you think
that's what it's all about.
Do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that one.
Okay, that's fine. Right, so you came on presumably because you disagree with the prompt. You think that MAGA is not anti-science. So what do you think? Do you think that MAGA is pro-science, somewhere in the middle, something else?
I think, like I said before, collectively, I think, I don't know. Like I said, individually, I think a lot of people are about science, but if you take everybody as a collective, I don't know. How do you determine where the needle falls?
Well, you can take polling data, right?
I suppose, which I don't obviously have those numbers, but I don't think anybody that doesn't believe in science doesn't make any sense. I mean, how else would we have evolved and built the technology that we have? As far as getting to the point where now we're able to live until we're 80, 90, 100.
Would you be surprised if people who are right or lean right, amongst polled individuals, half of them thought that scientists were dishonest?
I think that's just only because of what the media tells them.
Okay, but
if you really look into it,
they still believe that, right?
Yeah, I guess apparently, yeah.
And
but I think that's the problem.
It sounds
I think
pretty anti-science to me.
It's not people in general. I think it's what social media has created. It's really created a lot of individuality and
yep, people are influenced by social media. I agree. That doesn't mean that they're not anti-science.
Right, but I think that might be how you're supposed to answer one question without really acknowledging the most important part. Is it's really until social media came along that where the country really started getting divided and believing in certain things, one more than the other, instead of actually doing the right thing and actually doing the hard work and fact checking and doing the research themselves.
So,
they're just going to go along with whatever's easy.
I agree. Yeah. What you're doing right now is you're explaining why MAGA is anti-science, right? And that might be the correct explanation as to why. It doesn't mean that it's not true that MAGA is anti.
Yeah, I'm a machine operator. I'm actually working as I'm talking to you, and I got a whole bunch of things going on.
Are you forklift certified? I just got to know.
No.
Bummer. All right, then I got to let you go.
No. All right, but
if he's not forklift certified, no, we just basically agreed. The Blackness, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How are you, MAGA?
I support Trump. I wouldn't consider myself MAGA for sure, but I didn't vote in the last election because I was moving between states, but I would have voted for him.
Okay. Just a few questions, then we can get into the meat and potatoes. Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
100%.
Okay. Do you think that vaccines that we typically administer to children, like MMR and Tdap, are generally safe and effective?
100% effective and safe.
Okay. And do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
100%.
Okay, cool. So you came on, presumably because you disagree with the background. So would you say that MAGA is like pro-science, neutral, anti-science, or some fourth thing?
I think first I'd want to define, what science is. I think both sides are anti-science, in fact.
Okay. So then you agree that MAGA is anti-science?
I believe MAGA is anti-science. I believe that, the left parts of the Democratic Party are anti-science.
But then why'd you want to come up if you agreed with me?
Well, I'm coming on to agree with you, but in general, what you're saying is you're only presenting one side, that MAGA is anti-science, which I agree with, but I think all politics are anti-science. People pick and choose what they want to push their ideology. I've been watching a lot of your stuff over the years, and your economic stance, typically is very anti-science. So
is
I
economics
agree with
a
you
science?
Say that again.
Is economics a science?
That's what I'm trying to get to. What's a science? So,
well, I mean,
if you
it
university
depends on how you define it, right? You might consider economics
from a Karl Popper philosophy.
Okay.
A falsification.
I mean,
through experiment.
Okay, then it's generally pretty hard to. I guess you could do economic experiments, but look, if you wanted to come up and just talk about economics, this is probably not the place to do it because you already agreed with the background.
I think the rhetoric though is pointing out one side as anti-science. You're a smart guy.
Like generally speaking, if you take polling data, what you'll find is that people who self-identify as liberal or lean left are more likely to trust scientists, are more likely to agree with the scientific consensus than people on the right are. So it's not like both sides are equally bad kind of thing.
Well, I think they are because it's, again, what's science? And what we've seen in the university system over the last 25 years, I got my PhD in maybe 15 years ago, what we've seen really happen is a bloating of administrators, a bloating of non-science fields and degrees that impact ultimately what people lean to in their political spectrum. And while I agree with climate change and that it's 100% caused by humans, what I see on the left is a complete policy failure to really implement the type of technologies we need to get off fossil fuels, namely nuclear. And so being anti-nuclear to me it's probably the number one problem in the world is being scared of nuclear energy. And
sure, we can agree on that. But look, the point is that if you take polling data, if you look at actual policies, what you'll find is that the policies that are put in place, the polling data, is suggestive that people on the right generally are less likely to agree with scientific consensus, are less likely to be interested in funding scientific endeavors. That's just the case, right? Now, you could say that the left also does that.
That's because of the full questions that you're asking, though.
You're asking, pull up the poll question if you want.
Do I believe in climate change? Do I believe in evolution? These are very specific questions. They don't get to the root of whether one side is against science, because like the science that they're picking and choosing.
So
are the
polling question I was referring to was, do you think it was a list of adjectives, and it asked, do you think that scientists in general are, and then adjective. So like smart or intellectual, I think was one of the words. And like both sides generally agreed that scientists are smart, but right-wingers tend to be a little bit lower on the percentage, right? Like it was like 85 versus 90, whatever. However, if you go down and you look at the word honest, what you'll find is that like 85% of left-leaning people think that scientists are honest, whereas like 50% of right-leaning people think that scientists are honest. And that's like a pretty significant difference, right?
I agree with that, but again, it does come down to what is being politicized as science for policy, and it's specifically around things like being, there's a huge theocracy in the right, and so evolution is, looked at skepticism.
Right.
There's
so
a lot of policy around
unfortunately,
climate change
even after you control for religion, which this study has been done, even after you control for religion, right-leaning people are more likely to think that evolution didn't happen.
I'd be really interested in seeing that.
Yeah, I can send it to you.
I think that my opinion is that the left has.
Or actually, I'll just pull it up.
Yeah, the left has pushed certain cherry-picked certain scientific things to. I have to look at this stuff.
Or wait a minute, is this the right one? One sec. I actually don't think that's the right one. No, here's the right one. Yeah, the other one was a Pew study, which does come to the same conclusion, but this one's like it was a Pew poll rather, but this is like actually I shouldn't show you my IP address. This is actually like a study. So acceptance of evolution among American Mormons, right? So what they did, and you can, if I remember correctly, this study's freely available. Let me just pull it up, and you can find it at some point if you want. But essentially what they did is they were looking only at Mormons. So these are people who were already controlling for religion. And then they sorted by political views. And it's only 19 pages long. But one of the conclusions that they come to is that the right-leaning people were less likely to accept evolution, even though everybody was Mormons, right? So make of that what you will. If you want to look up the name of the paper and read it for yourself, it's called Acceptance of Evolution Among American Mormons. It's interesting.
I would argue that this is probably an unscientific poll, which is funny, as most of these polls are.
How are we supposed to collect data about what people think?
I think it's incredibly difficult. I mean, I've seen a complete failure in the social sciences through trying to do this. In fact, the American Statistical Association has in 2012, I believe, released a statement on the use of statistics in social sciences to tell them not to use statistics anymore because it's nearly impossible to conduct valid science. So,
we can go look at their specific data if you want.
Journal is some social science journal. So you're using non-science.
The Journal of Contemporary Religion, actually.
Well, okay. That would go under a humanities or a social science.
I suppose, but we can go look at their data if you wanted to. Unless you think that they're fabricating their graphs, for example. What they found is that
I think it's a misuse of statistics typically in these types of these journals.
So what they found, interestingly enough, is that for people who self-identified as very conservative, they found that as they increased the amount of as they increased the amount of education that they had from 8th grade or less to post-grad, the percentage of very conservative Mormons decreased. The percentage of very conservative Mormons who accepted evolution decreased with increasing intelligence level. Or I keep saying intelligence, I mean to say education. On the other hand, for very liberal Mormons, what you find is that the probability of accepting evolution increases dramatically, really dramatically, as you go from lower levels of education to higher levels of education. It just it seems.
How do you know that this paper is statistically relevant?
Because
I know
you can go look at it if you want. They have a very large sample size. You can go look at the statistical significance that they do. You can look at the standard deviations. If you want to do that, you can go dig into the details if you want.
But in general,
this isn't a unique study.
Social science gets
this
published.
This has been seen in other situations as well.
Looking at a sample size of a few hundred people. They
So
claim
this is 34,000, I think. Sorry, 35,000.
I have to look at this.
Yeah, but my point is that this is not a unique study. This has been this kind of result has shown up elsewhere. That even after controlling for religion, conservatives are less likely to think that evolution is true, right? This is not. It's not unique to this study. It's not unique to just Mormons.
It'd be interesting to see the same study of Muslims.
Okay, I don't actually know if it's been done.
It hasn't been done, and I'll tell you why it hasn't been done. Because no one will ever do that study.
Well, I think that Mormons is probably just a bigger population in the U.S. than.
And it's also socially acceptable.
We could go look. We could go look. Okay, so we're doing the weird woke conspiracy.
It would never pass an IRB to do a study on Muslims. And that's part of the pseudoscience.
Let's see. No, actually, this has been done. I mean, specifically, what they found. I mean, like the Pew Research data or Pew polling. I'm sure you're familiar with Pew, right? Pew Research Center. They've done analyses on Muslim beliefs. So, in fact, I just found another paper. This is published in Evolution, Education, and Outreach. In 2013, the paper is called Muslims and Evolution, a study of Pakistani physicians in the United States. So like, yeah, like it's been done. Like the woke conspiracies, like kind of cringe. We can actually see. So what we found is that I think it was a fairly small sample size actually. Yeah, they found 23 Pakistani physicians in the United States, which, I can understand that it would be a small sample size, so, perhaps warrants further investigation. But what they found is that the majority accept evolution. Perhaps not surprising, they're physicians. We can go look for more. Here's another one from 2021. This one is called Muslim Undergraduate Biology Students Evolution Acceptance in the United States. They surveyed 7,909 college students in 52 biology classes in 13 states about their acceptance of evolution, interest in evolution, and understanding of evolution. Muslim students in our sample on average did not agree with items that measured acceptance of macroevolution and human evolution. Further, on average, Muslim students agreed but did not strongly agree with items measuring microevolution acceptance. Controlling for gender, major, race, ethnicity, and international status, we found that the evolution acceptance and interest levels of Muslim students were slightly higher than Protestant students and students who were members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. However, Muslim students' evolution acceptance levels were significantly lower than Catholic, Jewish, Buddhist, and Hindu students, as well as students who did not identify with religion. Muslim student understanding of evolution was similar to students from other affiliations, but was lower than agnostic and atheist students. So, yeah, turns out this has been studied. So, I don't know. Weird that you would suppose that that definitely would never be done. I don't know where he went, but he can still hear me because he just minimized the app. I know he's off app. He's probably looking for research. Welcome back.
No, I'm on, sorry. Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Typically what I've seen is focus on Christian nationalism because that's really where young academics can make a big splash for their careers versus focused on like minority groups in the US.
Well, I mean, generally speaking, Christian nationalism is perhaps a bigger problem than Islamic extremism or something like that, at least in the US currently. So I can understand why that might be the case. However, to say that it hasn't been studied, to say that nobody would ever study because the social environment is not conducive to it, that's just not the case.
Yeah, I need to look up those studies. It's really interesting. So I thank you for pointing those out. I would say though, for the original, I think that my underlying belief is that both parties use science when they want. Having a political angle on, being one of the biggest problems in the world faces today. Yes, climate change is our existential threat, but most of the policy decisions that are being made are extremely poor on both sides. And so that's been my, I believe that, if we go off oil, gas, and coal rapidly, kind of like the experiment we've seen in Germany, is that we're going to have a huge gap in energy. Energy drives the economy, it drives our existence. There's going to be some gap there that's probably going to have a much near-term effect on death than, slowly moving to nuclear. But that's been my stance. So why am I a MAGA supporter? Mostly for economic reasons, policy reasons. I also believe that capitalism has lifted a ton of people out of poverty all over the world. Not a socialist. I don't think anybody's really a socialist.
I mean, not in American politics, no.
Exactly. So,
have you looked at the Trump budget proposals?
Indirectly, yes. I mean, I've looked
So
up a little
like,
bit.
I mean, like they're really, really bad with regards to like the scientific stuff. And like, I mean, if you think that climate change is a problem, I mean, there was a recent, there's like this was like a super big deal when, you know, sorry, let me just find it. There was a national, I say that this was a super big deal a month ago. People seem to care less about it now because it's old news and the news media moves fast. But about a month ago, Trump shut down, or Trump, you know, was proposing shutting down. I actually don't know if it was shut down, but he proposed to shut down a CO2 monitoring satellite. And or both of them really. One of them's attached to the ISS, the other was just in orbit. And shutting down both of them, well, we wouldn't have that data anymore. And furthermore, the one that was in orbit would just crash into the Earth because it wouldn't be able to station keep anymore. So this is just removing our ability to monitor CO2 emissions, for example. And like, you would never see that on the left, right? You would never, like, you might think that like the proposed policies are like ineffective by like you know, Biden, Obama, Kamala Harris, whatever, for you know, combating climate change. But at least they don't negatively, at least they don't make it worse, right? So
yeah, I mean, I've also seen a lot of fundings to you know, science research as well. Massive cuts there. But I kind of understand the reason for that. Mostly because of the inflated indirect cost rates that have been going on the last 15, 20 years, and the costs associated with administrators and universities. I mean, a lot of these universities are using, you know, student loan debt to finance their institutions, and then their indirect cost rates on research to also finance those.
It's not just about budget cuts. It's like actively like anti-climate science, right? I mean, like, there was a thing that just came out. The DOE's Climate Working Group just put out a report, you know, like, I don't know, a month ago? Yeah, 2 months ago, I guess. They have
one item. You're talking about one item, okay? One item.
No, but this is a general trend. So what happened is that the Trump administration picked 5 climate skeptics to put out this report, and as a way of undoing all of the climate policy that existed in the last, you know, 5 years prior. And like, that's not even just funding cuts. That's, we're going to misrepresent the data so that it doesn't seem like a problem.
On the flip side, you have a candidate in Ohio that's running for governor that's talking about $20 to $30 billion in small modular reactors installed all out through the state, who's a Republican.
Cool.
Which one's going to have more of an impact on
the
CO2
one that
emissions?
involves the president? That'd be my guess.
I would say in general, that administration has been very pro-nuclear.
How many more nuclear reactors has Trump endorsed?
Large reactors? None.
Any reactors?
Small modular,
How much funding has there been provided for nuclear power?
There's at the state level, who are supporters of Trump, there has been proposals of multiple billions of dollars each state. I know in Ohio it's going to be around 20 billion. I know Texas allocated another 7 billion. These are red states.
Well, sure.
And endorsed by the president. These candidates are endorsed by the president.
Right. So, I mean, like, look, I think that generally nuclear is a pretty good idea. I think that the anti-nuclear people that you'll find are generally Green Party voters and not generally Democrats. Generally speaking, I think also that you won't really find that MAGA politicians in general are interested in building nuclear reactors to combat climate change, right?
What else would be the impetus of building nuclear reactors? There are already massive investments in coal and oil, which really is never going to go away. It's just the price of extraction, right, is going to change. So
nuclear reactors are a short-term investment for a long-term return, right?
Exactly. So why would a person on a 4-year election cycle or a 6-year election cycle care about something that's a 20 to 30-year investment?
Well,
which
hold
will
on.
ultimately.
So are we talking? We're not talking about Trump. So if we're talking about governors could very well have longer terms, and I mean, just because they're not going, I mean, what do you think that they're only interested in things that are going to line their, like, they might have goals that go beyond their term.
Yes, politicians having goals that go beyond their term is on both
not
sides.
Unusual.
My point is that we could find that the world is complex, and that even though the vast majority of MAGA supporters don't believe in climate change, that they could, through their, just through their interest in viable energy, because their constituents want cheaper energy, closer energy. They don't want to be reliant on energy. There's also the belief that we shouldn't be reliant on foreign oil, which is a big deal in the GOP and MAGA. The only way to combat that, they don't necessarily believe that solar and wind have the EROI that, is significant enough to do that investment. They don't like the subsidies, even though there are oil subsidies as well. It could be that even in this complex world, with MAGA being anti-science on the climate change, they could have the biggest impact in the country over the next decade, and the biggest reduction in our carbon footprint by being pro-nuclear. That is really interesting to me, and I don't see it on the left. I see zero. So if I list the things that I care about, climate change is actually number one. And I just, from a reduction standpoint, the biggest bang for your buck and the safest way to do it is through nuclear. And the only people that I see pushing that are on the right.
Damn it. I don't think it's the biggest bang for your buck. I think that the numbers would actually indicate that solar is the cheapest energy that we can produce right now. And furthermore,
but we've already done that experiment. Like solar works great in California, right? I live in the Bay Area, all the way down to California, the Southwest. It works great. But as soon as you move to Ohio or Illinois,
well, yeah. So you tailor the energy production. You tailor the energy production to your location. I mean, wind is also cheaper than, say, coal and gas and so on right now as well. But I mean, the point is that. It sounds like you're saying that the left is just not pro-nuclear. I'm pretty sure that Biden signed a law that was like an enormous nuclear development bill. Like I don't know where you get the idea that like this is like a solely right-wing thing.
20, 30 years of history on the left. Of course, they're moving towards it now. The action needs to be taken. The right has been...
Everybody was anti-nuclear post-Chernobyl. Everybody was afraid of it. Post-Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island, everybody was afraid of it.
No, you don't remember... you don't remember the Carl Sagans being very anti-nuclear, mostly from a proliferation standpoint.
What year was this? Well, okay. Being anti-nuclear proliferation is reasonable, right?
It's really not. Because there really hasn't been much of a case there.
That we should have, that it's good to have fewer nuclear weapons?
No, that countries with nuclear power have drastically increased I mean, they're typically regulated. Regulation's good.
Sorry, how was that responding to what I said?
Typically, there's been very little evidence to suggest that countries that are actively involved in nuclear power increase proportionally their weapons arsenals.
Wait a minute, hold on. So there's a distinction between being anti-nuclear power and being anti-nuclear weapons proliferation, right? The capability to do one is not the same as the capability to do the other.
Typically pre-1980, 1985, most of the left was anti-nuclear power for proliferation reasons, saying that one would lead to the other.
Okay, and sure. That was 40 years ago.
Yeah, and
that's irrelevant for today's politics, right?
People are going to build weapons. That's just what's going to happen.
So do we agree that the party of the left 40 years ago is irrelevant to today's politics?
Not at all.
How? Because, I mean, the claim is that, you know, somehow the right is more pro-nuclear than the left. And you're citing 40 years ago. And I'm citing a bill that Biden signed into law last year. Like, this was a huge bill. This was like really, really good. Like, I'd like to know what bills Trump has signed into law that advances nuclear power. Like, maybe he has, but it was Senate Bill 870 called the Accelerating Deployment of Versatile Advanced Nuclear for Clean Energy Act, which, you know, stands for, you know, advance.
And I'm wondering how many reactors have started to build after that bill.
I mean, the bill passed last year, right? We can read about like what the bill does if you want. So, for example, it reduces fees for companies seeking to license advanced reactor technologies. It gives the NRC, which is the Nuclear Regulatory
Research, SMRs and research. Okay.
Gives the NRC more funding to hire qualified staff to process applications so that they can get through applications faster, right?
Bureaucracy, got it.
Authorizes the U.S. Commerce and Energy Departments to help create public-private financing relationships to support civil nuclear technology exports. Creates a prize incentive equal to licensing fees assessed by the NRC for the first advanced reactor permit issued to a non-federal entity or the Tennessee Valley Authority. Like, there was a lot in this law. Has Trump passed any pro-nuclear laws? Like, maybe he has, I just don't know about it. But has he?
It's on the list.
Okay.
It's been relegated mostly to the states, and the states have a lot of, I would say the big energy states are pushing towards SMRs, and that bill reads a lot like, I mean, if you talk civilian, it's all SMRs, right?
Sure.
But there's been nobody that has pushed large scale nuclear reactors on either side.
I mean, the goal of the Biden-Harris administration in signing that law, their goal was to triple nuclear capacity by 2050. Like, that's you know, it's perhaps too what's the word? Perhaps it's shooting too high, but you know, that was the goal. Like, I think that it's just based on lofty, that wasn't the word I was like, ambitious, that was the word I was thinking of. Like, it sounds like it was weird that you cited like 40 years ago instead of just looking at like what Obama and Biden did. I mean, like, if I remember correctly, Obama and Biden were excoriated for being too pro-nuclear by the far left, right?
First off, big Obama fan. So get it. I have not seen, other than private capital going into civilian SMRs, I have not seen any other than bureaucratic process around regulation of those SMRs manifest from any government. No investment in SMRs that I've seen, other than small.
I mean, I just told you about, like, there was literally an award for advanced nuclear technology that would be given to the first privately produced reactor, right? That was part of the bill.
There are many. Where are those awards?
Well, I don't know if it's I don't know if it's still the law, because it was signed like about a year ago. I don't know what the process is for those awards. I don't know how it's judged, but I mean, that was in the law. If you want to go look into the details of the law, you can, but like, look, I gave you an explicit example of Biden being pro-nuclear energy. Now, you might not like how he was doing it, but he was at least pro-nuclear energy, and you can't give me a single example of Trump doing the same. Holy stuff knows no, I'm getting over a cold, or maybe I have a cold. I want to read the framework. So on November 12th, so the Biden administration unveiled an initiative to triple U.S. nuclear power capacity by 2050, aiming to reach its net zero emissions goal in response to a rise in U.S. energy demand. The plan would deploy an additional 200 gigawatts of nuclear energy capacity by 2050 through several actions, such as building new small and large reactors, expanding existing facilities, and developing the nuclear workforce. The plan also establishes earlier targets, such as deploying 35 gigawatts of new capacity by 2035, and then 15 gigawatts per year by 2040. Like, it's just Biden doing pro-nuclear stuff. What's the issue? And by the way, like people will be like, oh yeah, well Biden just increased pay for the bureaucracy for nuclear reactors. Of all of the things in the country where you want strong regulations, like nuclear reactors are like one of the things where you want strong regulations, right? Because you don't want people doing a rush job. You really don't want people cutting corners when building nuclear reactors, because that's how you end up with disasters, right? I don't know where he went. All right, I'm gonna let him go. All right, let's bring on a guest from YouTube. Bill, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hi, Bill. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Are you a Trump supporter?
I am, yes.
Okay. I just have 3 quick questions, and then we can get into the meat of it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, so do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
Are the main cause of climate change? No.
Okay. Do you think that the vaccines that we administer to, young children, infants, these are things like the MMR vaccine, the Tdap vaccine, do you think that these are generally safe and effective?
I believe they are an unnecessary risk.
We've spoken before, Bill. Go away. Yeah, I know. I know who that is. He said the exact same thing last time. Yeah, it was Will. Let's talk to just another guy. Just another guy. How's it going?
Going good. How about you?
I'm doing all right. Are you MAGA?
I'm named Maggard.
Oh, you are? I can't see your username, so.
Oh yeah, never mind.
Okay. Yeah, so just a few quick questions before we move on, and then we can get into the meat and potatoes of it, okay?
Sure.
Do you think that humans are the main cause of climate change?
Yes.
Okay. Do you think that vaccines are generally, the vaccines that we give to children are generally safe and effective?
Yes.
Do you think that humans evolved from non-human ancestors?
Yes.
Okay, great. And now you joined, presumably because you... Now, you joined presumably because you disagree with the background. So do you think that MAGA is pro-science, neutral, or some other thing?
I think you capitalized MAGA wrong.
Okay. Do you want to address the question?
Do I think MAGA is anti-science?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I am anti-science.
I'm talking about the ideology or the movement.
I don't understand the ideology or the movement.
So the ideology, you call yourself MAGA, but you don't know what you mean by the ideology, by the MAGA ideology?
My last name is MAGGARD.
Okay. All right, y'all. Did I miss some super chats? I may have missed some super chats. I missed a lot of super chats, I think. Not a lot. From Fears Interaction, we have $5. Thank you so much. Blitz, I'll only talk to you if you're opposition. Ben, you live in a confirmation bubble. What? Yeah, good point. From Tommy Cat with the $5, I think space travel causes the most damage. Do you think there's a defensive field around the planet? I do. What is space travel? Space travel doesn't... I mean, space travel isn't good for the environment, but it's not like a main concern. Now, if you had nuclear reactors on your spacecraft and then they blew up, that would be a problem. And from Joseph Little with the $5, you refuse beliefs of 40 years ago, though they were based on science, as though 40 years from now, what you believe won't be overturned by science. No, so the scientific evidence from 40 years ago, I would absolutely, like, I'm sure it's been refined since then, but I would accept data from 40 years ago as long as it hasn't been refined or overturned. The claim was, I don't see how the political views of people 40 years ago is relevant today. You seem like you're misunderstanding, Joseph. Anyway, we are currently out of guests, and my throat hurts, and I'm kind of miserable, as you can probably tell. So I'm actually going to end the live like an hour early. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for enjoying. If you like seeing this kind of stuff, if you like videos, if you like live streams like this, make sure to join the Discord server. So there is a link down below the YouTube video that you're currently watching this on, or alternatively, you can go to the link tree in my bio on TikTok, copy and paste the link into a browser. It'll work that way. Both are great ways to join the Discord server. Yeah, I'll see you there. And I'll perhaps see you guys tomorrow for another live if I'm feeling up to it. Take care.